All right. So one way to get your podcast totally different is to use Monica, which is a really cool AI tool that does a whole bunch of things, but they actually have an AI podcast generator. And what I like about this is it can use a website, it can use YouTube, it could use a PDF or a doc or long text. And there's a couple different options here in terms of the language. You can do a couple different languages here, and you can hear what it sounds like
Hola,
here.
bienvenidos a nuestro podcast.
Prepárense para historias
So that's pretty good. But let's look at the English ones. They have English,
Hi there.
American
Welcome
English,
to our podcast.
Get ready.
and they have British English as well.
Hello, thanks for tuning in to our podcast.
Let's dive into some fascinating.
All right, so it sounds pretty good, but let's see what it does. So these are some example prompts that you can do. But what I wanted to do was take, I guess, a pretty complicated article here. So we have the Bank of Canada talking about the potential impacts of US tariffs. And because this is the Bank of Canada, this is going to go into a lot of detail about specifics and GDP and how this works. And you can see that this is quite a dense article. And this is one of the great things about the podcast is it can take something like this, which was almost painful to read and to go through, and make it a lot more interesting and accessible. And so let's see how this goes. So I'll click generate with the British host, and actually I had the YouTube link selected. Let's change that to the website and we will generate that. All right, so let's click generate. And I'm going to continue with Google and log into one of my accounts here. All right, so now that I've logged in, I got to reselect it. Let's click generate. Okay, so now it's parsing the content source. And what's really cool about this is just the way that this can synthesize very dense information and make it accessible and allow you to listen to it while you're doing other things like driving in the car. One of the things that I did before that was very beneficial for my life was I looked at my car as a university on wheels. And so I listened to a lot of personal development, a lot of marketing stuff in the car while I was driving, and just skipping over the music and listening to some things that would help me get ahead. And I think this is one of the real benefits of AI podcast generation is it allows you to do this. And then you can like have a little collection of things that you can easily just play in the car and gain that knowledge. It's really cool. So this will take about 10 minutes, but I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So right now you can see that they're breaking things down. Now, I will say that this Monica is not really great at breaking down a YouTube video where two people are talking because it's going to get confused about who is saying what source. And that's because it just pulls the transcript and doesn't really separate the speakers. But this actually does do that. And as you can see, this didn't take long at all. So we've got the highlight here, and this is actually a shorter podcast. So there's not a lot of customization that you can do to it, but still it makes it really interesting. And sometimes these short videos are really easy to rank on YouTube. And you can see the script right here. And so they're diving into it, and let's play a little bit so you can see what it's like.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another fascinating episode. Today, we're diving deep.
All right. Let's skip ahead here.
Exactly. So if the US imposes a hefty 25% tariff on all imports, yikes, right? What this does is essentially inflate the cost of anything from Canada or elsewhere for American consumers. So what's the result? You guessed it. Canadians might cut back on purchases too. Picture it as a giant seesaw. When one side gets heavier, the other side tips up.
That's pretty wild. So it's like a domino effect. But what about the Canadian dollar? If everything gets messier, does that mean it's going to drop?
Well, as you can see, they're using more British slang like spot on and things like that. But yeah, certainly something you can work with. And then again, you can take this into Descript and tighten up some of the spaces, change things a little bit. So yeah, you can really make it your own. But I think this really makes a lot of sense. You can download this, maybe put it in your Dropbox so it's available. And there's even a button here to scan it and listen on your phone, which is really cool because then you can just grab and go. You don't need to even worry about files. So I'll put a link to Monika in below this video. Definitely check it out. It gives another option and a kind of different sound, some different options that you can use when you're creating AI podcasts.